Blacklist Hunter here, and today we're going to talk about Feitan versus Shoot and figure out who is stronger. Without a doubt, man, these two characters are quite cool and very strong. Now, Feitan is a transmuter while Shoot is a manipulator. I gotta say, bro, this is quite a fun matchup because a person like Feitan doesn't mind inflicting pain and torturing his opponents, while the other one, Shoot, created his whole ability in order not to inflict pain onto others. So in order to figure out who can win this battle, we gotta look at the facts. We gotta look at what Shoot and Feitan have displayed so far. Feitan fought a monster squadron leader like Zazan while being quite rusty due to not having fought a real battle in a while, and performed quite impressively. Feitan's speed is top tier, and the way he was attacking Zazan from all angles, his agility is next level. Swift continuous attacks with his sword while managing to dodge almost all of Zazan's deadly attacks. Now, if Feitan fought the top squadron leader in terms of power and managed to keep up with her, aggressively attacking without stopping while showing no signs of fatigue, being rusty and still outperforming a monster like Zazan, that is quite impressive. Shoot, on the other hand, while fighting Killua, we have to admit, right, so he wasn't even trying. He certainly wasn't going for the finish against Killua, although I have to admit that Shoot's floating hands, which can attack from the blind spot and are quite versatile, and furthermore his Hotel Rafflesia being able to rob body parts just like he did steal Killua's eye, is quite dangerous in a real fight. Shoot's most impressive feat we have seen though is his fight against Yuppie, where he showed extreme determination and ferocity even for a moment, making Yuppie the Nen anomaly switch to defense mode. However, that only lasted for a couple of seconds. Still, with the surge of will he got from seeing Gon's actions, he became a whole different person, and the way that Shoot stood with one leg on top of his floating hand and furthermore even stealing one of Yuppie's eyes is quite awesome and really cool as well. Are Feitan and Shoot Nen masters? Of course not, but these characters are definitely high level Nen users and really dangerous depending on what opponent they fight. If they came face to face, however, there are a couple of scenarios on how the fight would turn out. First, we have to realize that Feitan, in order to activate his Hatsu Paint Packer, needs damage, and we know he has other variations, but let's focus on Paint Packer and Rising Sun. So Shoot's abilities are kind of tricky in this scenario because if they are face to face, Shoot is gonna activate his power and bring out the 3 floating hands and Hotel Rafflesia, and Feitan is clearly going to see that by using Gyo. He is very keen and quite sly. He doesn't get outsmarted easily and isn't a blockhead like Uvogin. So both of these characters are quite versatile, and Shoot's ability does make an opponent wonder what it does, and it seems a bit tricky at first impression and dangerous. Like Killua, for example, was on guard at all times from these floating hands and most importantly Hotel Rafflesia, which looks quite ominous. However, Feitan isn't the type to wait for Shoot to strike. It's quite possible that what he would do is bring out the umbrella just like he did against Zazan, and depending on the environment immediately attack Shoot. However, Shoot definitely has the reflexes to dodge a surprise Feitan attack. Shoot, just like Feitan, is quite fast and he has damn pretty good reflexes, as he demonstrated that in his fight with Killua and Yuppie, but I myself am of the opinion that Feitan's speed is unmatched so far, only by top tier characters. Feitan was leaving after images, even Zazan couldn't follow him, and even Kaluto was impressed by his immense speed. If Shoot somehow manages to block Feitan with his floating hands, we have to keep in mind that Feitan also has top tier swordsmanship skills. His way of handling the sword and repeatedly applying pressure to Shoot may throw Shoot in defensive mode. Now, we know that Feitan's Rising Sun is fatal and lethal, also has a wide range, basically it's KO. Now let's say Shoot is not gonna do much damage with his hands and is gonna go for the other route and try to steal a body part of Feitan. That is definitely the only win condition for Shoot. If Shoot somehow manages to steal a arm of Feitan and trap it into Hotel Rafflesia, that perhaps may throw Feitan off balance, but we have to keep in mind that in the fight with Zazan he was using the sword with only one arm. Now, the other possible win condition for Shoot is to somehow steal an eye while they are in close combat, and that is definitely going to make Feitan lose focus for a mere moment. However, in close combat I'm inclined to believe that Feitan with his sword is quite dangerous and fast. In a prolonged fight, Shoot would get pressured on the defensive mode and perhaps he would even get stabbed with with a KO attack by Feitan. In close combat, what Shoot has is his floating hands and his ability to rope body parts, while Feitan has his top sword skills and a deadly focused attack. It's quite possible that Feitan is gonna surpass Shoot's speed, because Zazan's attacks were at a high level in terms of speed and Feitan was rusty but still keeping up with her. So even though Shoot's speed is quite commendable and he has good reflexes, I have to go with Feitan in terms of speed. In close combat, it's also quite possible that Shoot is gonna manage to inflict some damage with his floating hands, because they do have a decent amount of aura into them. However, considering Feitan's ferocity in battle, versatility, ruthlessness, and combat skills, I would consider Feitan winning 7 times out of 10. This fight doesn't even need much speculation on my part due to Feitan's extreme versatility in battle and ferocity. While Shoot may be quite tough and skilled in close quarters with his floating hands, he can't do much against Feitan's sword. Feitan is extremely dangerous and he is so aware in battle that he wouldn't get easily damaged by a floating hand blind spot attack. This is all I want to say honestly regarding this fight, and I want to hear what you think in the comments down below, and definitely subscribe so we can reach that 1000 sub goal, and check out my other Hunter x Hunter content.